Thank you for joining me. As you may well be familiar, we all have gaps. The cybersphere is very dynamic. It changes every time, and we have seen a massive change in the last couple of years. There is a lot of cooperation going on right now, but there are still many gaps. So with your permission, I would like to start maybe with Philippe, the Member of Parliament. If you could please share with us your thoughts about the scope of cooperation. Who are we talking about? Who is involved in that? What are the gaps, and how do you see the solutions?
The scope in France is very large. We saw what you did in Beersheba, and we did quite the same with the cyber campus. We was inaugurated 2 or 3 weeks ago in La Défense in Paris. It's a building where in the same place we have government officials, ANSI, Ministry of Defense. We have companies, startups, and larger companies, and we have academic. And we are trying to melt all this to build a cyber campus, a cyber site. And the next step is to develop the collaboration with other CERTs, other campus, like Beersheba in Israel, like what you do in Luxembourg, what we have with German people. And it should be the way to say to all the ecosystem, to all the companies, that cybersecurity is not only the scope of governments, of agencies, but it's the scope of every company. Every people, every citizen must be and should be aware of cybersecurity. It's the goal we are trying to make in France.
Thank you. So you're talking about a multi-stakeholder approach, basically, where everybody chips in, if you like. I'd like to ask Minister Admirim if you could share with us the point of view of Macedonia, of North Macedonia, the gaps, and your vision in that sense.
Thank you, Yosi, and thank you to organizers for this opportunity. I think when we talk about cooperation, we can see it in 3 levels. First level would be the country level, and this, of course, is important for North Macedonia, but also for other countries. There is a sense that countries still don't take it seriously, the cyber security area, and I think that the awareness should be increased. Ideally, every country should have something like what you have in Beersheba. A place, a campus where you have this close cooperation between government institutions, academia, and private sector. So this would be the responsibility of each country. Then the second level would be creating more regional cooperations, because specific regions in the world have specific challenges and concerns. And in this sense, countries must share information with each other. And in the cyberspace, it's all about timing. It's not like in the classical world when it's okay to send information after a week or so. We should be able to have the tools and the cooperation necessary that we share information in real time. So if something happens to a certain country, the neighboring country can defend itself after we analyze those patterns. And in the global level, I think that democratic countries and societies ideally should have some centralized point where information about all cyber threats are shared with each other. So then the world or these countries with joint forces can better respond to the challenges that we have today in the cyber era.
Thank you, Minister. I think one of the ideas that you mentioned regarding the regional effort, it's very interesting because cyber knows no borders and it could look like a global thing if anybody else wants to to join, please don't hesitate. But you are saying that there is a role for a regional, some kind of a joint activity. Could be for confidence building, could be for sharing relevant information, etc. That's interesting. François, the cyber attacks are threats to the economy. And most of the economies are comprised of small and medium businesses. That's the majority of the economy. When you look at the rising threats, where should the international community put an emphasis, and how do you see the collaboration rising? I mean, I know Israel is connected to the Luxembourg MISP. What are your plans in that? And it's considered a very good and efficient MISP. Appreciate your...
Yes, thank you. So Luxembourg is very much aware that an economy consists about 80% of SMEs. And as SMEs, they are facing tremendous problems because they can't afford anymore these very specialized tools that we see, for instance, here at the fair, because they are simply too expensive. And this is the reason why Luxembourg has co-invested a lot of money in MISP, in this malware information sharing platform, wants to go a step further by creating an open data economy for cybersecurity data, meaning we are going to create, in the context of an important project of common European interest, putting the new cloud edge continuum to reality led by Germany and France. And we will create this data space, and we want to have it an open data space, meaning that anybody who has a legitimate interest to access this data can access the data. Because this is extremely important to create good tools, unattended tools, AI-based tools for SMEs. If your supply chain, which only consists of SMEs, has a problem, you will have a problem. It makes no sense to only invest in cybersecurity for the big ones, but the tools that you create for the small ones, that will be the ones that will save us at some point. So we are going for an open economy, open data economy, to foster innovation, research, and unattended products for the small.
Thank you. I think taking the MISP to another level, it's exactly what we need and what we're looking for. We have in Israel a platform called CyberNet that is domestic for professionals, and we have a vision to make something like that international, so that people could use not only to share IOCs post-mortem, but use it also to analyze and other stuff. And I think there's a lot to talk about.
Add something to that? The important thing is what we analyze is actually we lose terribly money and time by redundantly doing forensics and not sharing these forensics. So this is the reason why cybersecurity is extremely discriminatory in terms of price and complexity. We definitely have to change this.
Great. Juan, Panama is a regional, both area logistics hub and also maritime logistics hub. And there are a lot of tax-free zones, which probably make things very complex. I appreciate if you could share a little bit with us the gaps and what are the challenges that you are seeing in Panama, and how can we as a cyber community help that?
Well, in Panama, in first place, thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm glad to see you all here in this panel. Well, in Panama, we are working right now on cybersecurity strategies, including any kind of approach for increased cybersecurity in the country, from the government side and the private sector, including the free taxes zones and the maritime and the airports area, because we also are like airport hub in Latin America and Central America, for Central America too. And what we are facing right now is several challenges that we have to face every time. For example, we are looking to increase our regulations capabilities in order to prevent and protect the cyber data and with cybersecurity, excuse me, and in order to be able to increase any kind of crime prosecution with data sharing between the countries in the region For example, we have to be aligned that there's something that we are working right now, but in the meantime, while the regulations are being closer or getting aligned in order to share the crimes being held on the cyber scenario, we are looking or increasing the capabilities in order to be able to share more information as we learn that if we do not share information as previous talks and these panel colleagues are saying, we can't not defend what we do not, without the information that we do not have. So we need to share until it hurts, and when it hurts, we need to share more information in order to protect all kind of information systems in any kind of sectors. That's something that we are working right now with help with several countries and working together with several countries too. And that's why we are here in Israel looking for help in order to replicate some of the ideas that you already have in production right now.
Thanks, Juan. So you think also that there is a place for regional cooperation? I mean, when we look, for example, in the Caribbean, I was talking to a friend of mine who is the representative of the World Bank. He mentioned that there is a project in the Caribbean because there are small islands and with little resources. Do you see any room for regional? The European Union, for example, is sharing?
Not only for the European region, but we have a problem of human resources, and we have to share the academic for human resources, and we have to share relationship between all the agencies by sharing human resources. We should have ANSI people coming to Israel, spending a year or two working for you and going back to the ANSI. We should do that for Luxembourg, for Germany, for all not only on the regional approach, but a larger way, in order to share forensic. Is the best way is to share relationships, and that's surely the first way. And I put the emphasis on the education. We have to have students going to academics in order to be aware of what the work on the agencies are, and we need women in those agencies. It's a huge problem.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree with you more. Some of it is already happening. We do have information exchange, operational exchange with some of the countries, but we should definitely make it wider, bigger, deeper, and also do some joint training. I think that is something that international organizations could also work. So,
I would like to add something, because Europe, cybersecurity is for the moment organized in a territorial way, meaning that there are governmental certs, there are national certs dealing with incidents in their country, but this will dramatically change as there will be a new cloud edge continuum being built that grants the possibilities of customers to freely move through the cloud continuum to go to the customers wherever. So my Luxembourgish critical infrastructure operators or the operators of essential services, they will no longer be in Luxembourg. They will moving around through Europe or even beyond Europe. So I must be capable of collaborating with France, with Portugal, with whoever, where these companies are moving to in order to address incidents. I'm not allowed, because of sovereignty of France, to address myself. And that is also why I believe that the role of the private sector gets very, very, very important, because they will be the ones that can act cross-border very easily and can address, together with actually governmental backing, large-scale incidents. And for sure, the incidents will be large-scale, because we all use the same technology.
And we have heard earlier Undersecretary Rob Silvers from the States also harnessing the private sector or the high-tech companies to do security by design, security by defaults, which are important factors for that. Sorry, Minister, you wanted to add anything?
Yeah, just to add on that regional cooperation, many times cyber attacks go hand in hand with political tensions that happen on the ground. We could see this now with the Russian invasion in Ukraine, when before they started, you know, they created DDoS attacks on the banks, so people couldn't get money and so on. My country is in the Balkans, and we have some specifics in the Balkans. And there are, of course, EU as a body of many countries has its own specifics. So my point is that would be good when neighboring countries cooperate more, because from the point of view of computer science, when we share information about attacks happening in one place, we can better analyze the patterns of those attacks and defend better. While today, not that I have exact statistics, but it seems that there is not enough cooperation between countries in this area. While in the other side, this push for digitalization is in every country. We must digitalize our services, but we must know that there is no good digitalization without having this foundation of cybersecurity defense, and then you can digitalize. Yeah.
Another thing that came up during the preparation is the issue of the load of the IR, for example, because now what I've heard and learned from you, and basically we think the same, the cooperation focuses post-mortem. So everybody writes a report, it takes about a week or two to, you know, to authorize it and then send it via email to others. How can we move to a vision where we can work together to mitigate the attack? I think this is one of the gaps here. The MISP and your plans, for example, is part of that, and CyberNet. If you have any other thoughts about, go ahead.
I think there's one topic we did not talk yet, is organizational security, risk management, which is completely left behind. I talk about risk management because then regulators in Europe are acting via risk management, but there's no link between technical security and organizational security, meaning that they don't deduce from the new kind of attacks, new scenarios, or they calculate probabilities of these scenarios. So then everything that is regulation in Europe is really, really definitely lacking behind. And that is also some kind of collaboration we have to put in place, that if we deduce what new scenarios, what are the probabilities, what will be the impacts, that has to be shared, because our chains for producing, they are cross-country. So we must talk to the French, to the German, to check if they do the same regulation, same risk management in their countries than we are doing it. And actually it's the best way to give guidance, which is not done.
So you're talking about streamlining the risk management so that everybody would do it the same way. It will help also the insurance arena, because now it's very difficult to put everybody on the same line and see where are the risks exactly. And another thing that maybe we could consider is a better regime of a know your client as well. If every country would take steps that malicious actors would find it harder to use malicious activity, then we're in a better place. Any other thoughts that you would like to share?
In my opinion, cybersecurity is definitely a factor of attractiveness of an economy. So it's something very positive, very important, and that can attract a lot of business. Example is Israel is a very good example. But Luxembourg too, or France, with the new cyber campus they have created, this attracts business. The thing we would like to address is collaboration means we would like to reduce complexity and price for everybody, but because cybersecurity must get affordable for everybody. And the third leitmotif we have in Luxembourg is actually cybersecurity is collaboration. Without collaboration, it doesn't work.
I totally agree, and we could also talk a lot of hours about supply chain that you mentioned. That's very important. We have a local model here, but actually supply chain is really global. And if we could know that one producer in another country is doing the same and can prove it to the other country, to the other customer, then we are in a better position commercially.
Cascading risk management.
Yep. So we need to summarize that to conclude the panel, stating that we've learned that cybersecurity requires a multi-stakeholder approach. Everybody has a role, including the citizens and, of course, the private sector, companies, industry, IT industry, organizations, and, of course, governments, as we are their representative. And there are a lot of silos to break, interagency, intergovernmental, etc., but we still need to keep the privacy of the data. And we've heard that although cyber is a global phenomena, regional solutions and the region basically, or regional activities still have a place to build trust. There is a room for international activity to set acceptable framework, as we discussed, and to promote cooperation, as we are as strong as the weakest link, basically. So I wish to thank all the participants, the distinguished participants, and to thank also the eager audience, and I wish you bon appetit.